Welcome everybody once again to the final third where we just talk soccer, man. You know, I'm not about to do the whole intro and stuff anymore. Like, I think it's pretty much self-explanatory. Got my bro, all right, Fuad in the house. Been playing soccer for this guy for a minute now. Yeah, Fuad, what's good, man?
I'm good, bro. Thank you for having me here,
Of course.
It's definitely an honor. I've been a fan since the first episode.
Appreciate it, man.
You know what I'm saying? I love what you guys are doing here. Man, keep up the great work, bro. I'm in your world. I'm just living in it.
Hey,
man.
Appreciate it, man. You've definitely been the guy who's showing us love since day one. So I've been trying to get you on the show for a minute now. I'm glad we finally got that opportunity.
Yep.
So yeah, man, welcome. Yeah, tell us a little bit about you, man. Like where you're born, where you came from, where you grew up, what soccer was like for you growing up.
Man, soccer, bro, it's football as I like to call it.
My apologies. Sincere apologies. For real. Football, you're right, man.
Football, you know, the beautiful game. Been playing it since I can remember, really. Since I was about 4. You know, born here. I'm from Somalia. You know, parents, you know, immigrated here, met here, had me. We stayed here for about until I was 10. Then I moved over to live in Egypt for about 5 years. So I got to experience football over there and just, you know, living in Africa.
What years were you in Egypt?
So I was there from 2001 to 2006. So from the ages of like 10 to 15.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was when it was still just Egypt and Cameroon battling for the Africans Cup of Nations.
Ivory Coast started to like, you know, get up there. Yeah, from the 06 era. Right. Yeah, you're right. That was the time where it was just, you know, your boy Eto and
all of them, Patrick Boma, all those guys,
man, all those legends.
Song. Yep. You know what's crazy is Egypt has been the best team, one of the best teams in Africa for almost forever, but they cannot ever qualify for the world. I always, if Egypt made it to the World Cup more often, I think they're one of the most technical. And this new style of play, this possession and the passing and movement and stuff like that. Egypt has been doing that for years, bro. Years. You know what I mean? They've been doing that too in a country where we're more physically, it's our style of play, the physicality, right? But they were doing this stuff for years. So it was good to actually see them in the World Cup.
You know what the funny thing is? I feel like people that haven't really grown up on soccer don't understand how good this guy Eto was.
Oh, no, Eto was filthy, bro.
Like the stuff he was doing at Barca?
Eto was filthy. A lot of people don't know that he was signed by Real Madrid first. A lot of people have no idea. And then Mallorca came and got him. Yeah, and then Barca.
It's just like, I feel like a lot of the people that are into soccer now only remember him from his Inter days when he got traded for Ibra and you know, after he played at Chelsea for a couple years. But like,
I mean, when he was like 15, 16, subbing on the national team, I mean, he had strikers ahead of him like Patrick Boma, who was like filthy, but he would come in there and just do some crazy things for this young lad to come in there and do that stuff, man.
Just, man, like him and Ronaldinho and Ludovic Juli, that team, like that 04 to 06. Bro, that was my team. Stupid. Like Deco, young Xavi coming in. Iniesta wasn't even near the team.
And then
Carlos
Messi was
Puyol.
Probably still in Argentina.
Bro, I remember Messi's his Champions League debut. I'll never forget. It was a game. Funny enough, back then, in order to watch like European games, you had to have like satellite TV, and on that satellite TV, you needed to have a card that gave you access to those like European channels, right? So I remember like it was a school night, obviously Tuesday night, Wednesday night. I had to sneak into my mom's room, get the card because she didn't want us to watch TV after dark. When it's time to go to bed. Get the card. I had the game playing. The lights were off. My brothers were sleeping, and the volume was like on 1 or 2. So just enough to hear the commentators and what's going on, but not enough to wake everybody up. And I'm like glued to the TV. And I see this little short kid coming on the field. I'm like, bro, this is against Chelsea, like Jose Mourinho's Chelsea.
Yeah, that was freaking
no joke.
Chelsea, bro.
And he comes on, and I'll never forget, the left back was Asier Del Horno, and he tore him to shreds. I'm like, this dude is the real deal. Holyfield.
Messi definitely made a statement when he came on the scene,
bro. But that whole era, man, just Ronaldinho just made me fall in love with the sport, bro. Like you can show Ronaldinho to a person who's never experienced football in their entire life, and he gains a fan instantly.
No, he definitely revolutionized the game.
Like,
I think he's
It's
definitely
crazy.
one of the biggest influencers in the culture of the sport.
Absolutely.
And in itself, you know, so I got mad respect for it. And to do it. And I mean, it's like, yeah, you know, Brazilians do this all the time, but it was just something super, super special about Ronaldinho.
Yeah, he just did it the way that you and I would play on you know, just in the park.
Sunday league.
Just pick up.
Composure. But to that was his downfall too. He was too casual. You know what I mean?
Professionalism wasn't his strong suit.
Well, that's most Brazilians. Again, most Brazilian professionalism isn't their thing, and it's tough being a soccer player from Brazil. It's like 1 minute they're like great stars, and then literally tomorrow they're done. Adriano, like
you took the words out of my mouth. Like Adriano,
you know what I mean? Look at what's the guy that was at Chelsea? Oscar. Like what? Like literally 1 minute you're on top of the world in Brazil, and then literally tomorrow you're done. But anyways, that's Brazilian for you. So sorry, I didn't mean it. That was a sidetrack.
Hey, no, bro. It's funny that you mentioned Ronaldinho, because growing up in Egypt, I remember that like every recess, obviously that's the only sport everyone's playing. There's like 10 different we actually used to play on concrete basketball courts, but they had the soccer nets under, right? So they'd be split up by grades. So like, you know, grades play different classes or whatever. And I remember when I first got there when I was 10, I was some booty compared to them. And I was not good. So I had to start in the goal. They were like, you ain't coming out. First of all, I didn't speak the language. Yeah. Right? So that was another thing. I was the only black kid in my class. Oh, wow. Right? So they were like, you got to work your way up. You're going to be in the goal until you can gain our respect. So slowly but surely, I had to learn how to play goalie. Had to learn how to play with the ball with my feet, and then, you know, work your way up. But just
earned it, man.
Playing in the streets every day after school, literally, just going home, throwing my book bag, going downstairs, and just playing until it gets dark. No, you know, I didn't have my real first pair of soccer shoes until I was like 14, right? But like, and we would play with anything. If you didn't have a ball, bro, we would crush up like you know, Pepsi cans. Crush them joints up and use that,
bro. Like, what are you telling? I mean, we used to have to. I remember we got in trouble so many times. We would steal rubber bands from our teachers, and we'll start with a paper. We'll just crumble up a paper and just keep adding rubber bands. Just keep adding rubber bands before you get like an actual soccer ball. Those were our balls, and we would play actual organized games with that ball. You know what I mean? So it's crazy the humble beginnings we came from to come here and then see how things are so backwards.
It's crazy.
You know what I mean? Like, you have all of this. You got fields, you got cleats, you got that, and yet it's still, you guys are struggling at the sport. Is mind-boggling.
I remember when I came back in 06 and I saw like AstroTurf fields. That was like I was mind blown. I was like, you guys have these access to these fields like whenever you want?
It's crazy.
And nobody stopped you?
Nobody even cared about it.
Right.
But the good thing is, I can honestly say that culture is slowly changing, man. And like the stuff that you're saying, where you're seeing kids playing out at all hours, I'm starting to see that. You go to Hathaway, the tennis courts out there, like 11 p.m. there are guys out there bowling. I love it, man. You know what I mean? The other day I was just at the Germantown Soccerplex, and like, you know, my girls, my younger, I got 05s and 06 girls, which I DOC, I'm the director of coaching for. We had our game, and over to the side, I don't know if you've been to Germantown, the indoor soccerplex, right? You know, over to the side, there's like the little place where everybody sits, and you go down the stairs, and it's like where the bathroom is. Bro, there were kids, they just set up cones, 4 or 5 kids, and they were just playing. They were playing for hours. Our game started when we got there. They were already playing. Game ended like an hour later. They were still playing. So I went up to them and was like, "Yo, this is beautiful. Absolutely. Like, don't ever." I told them straight up, "Don't ever lose this." You know what I mean? This is beautiful.
It's crazy.
So man, it's good to see, you know, that's shifting in culture, but it's also, you know, we are coming here. Exactly, you know what I mean? And then we're also having kids, and we're kind of, you know, telling them how we grew up and allowing them to experience what we experienced growing up, you know, but hopefully we can give them, they can have that experience that we had from humble beginnings, but be also be able to experience the good side about it. You know what I mean? Yes, love the game and play the game hard and play the game the way it's supposed to be played, but also have the privilege of being able to play on a turf field, being able to go buy some new Total 90s or Vapors or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But still somehow instill some kind of humility in them, I think is really, really big.
That's the biggest thing, like finding that sweet spot, that balance point, right? So my son, he's gonna be 3 in the summer, right? And that's the first thing that I showed you a video.
I've already seen videos of this
like
kid,
before he was 1, when he started to walk, just getting him, I bought him a little goal and got him a little ball, and then he just started naturally. He's left-footed.
Smooth with it. I would say he's like a little Mo Salah, man.
Hey,
little nice little release. He has that little quick, like I told you, his shot release is super fast, and he's only less 3 years old.
He's not there yet.
And his accuracy, I mean, that was at least like 10 12
yards.
meters that he shot with his left foot. And the accuracy in that little goal, man, I was impressed. I wish there was a way I could take a clip and like it could just pop up somewhere on the screen, like here. And he's like, and we can show you guys this clip. Work that in. This kid's in diapers doing this, and it's beautiful.
Yeah,
beautiful to watch.
It is. But just going off of like you said, instilling that humility. I mean, me growing up, when I came back here, when I was 15, like back in 06, I was a senior in high school. Never played organized football before, mind you. Just playing at school, playing in the streets, you know, going with a bunch of friends, you know.
Right.
We had so the beautiful thing about living in a foreign country is that you tend to build relationships with people that are from similar backgrounds to you. So there were a lot of other Somali kids that grew up in the States, in Canada, in Europe, like, you know, Australia. And we would all get to know each other in our neighborhood. So then we put together a team, and then we'd go to different neighborhoods and challenge other kids.
That's dope.
You know what I'm saying? And remember, like, sometimes you go there, you beat them, and then you got the bragging rights, and other times you go there, you get dogged, and you're like, all right, we can't go there anymore. And just that dog, like instilling that like hunger and that like fierce competitive nature is something that like, I don't think you can really, it's either you kind of got it or you don't type of thing. Like when I came back, my mom didn't want me to play soccer. She was like, I was like, oh, Mom, I want to join the soccer team at school. And she was like, I'm not sending you to school to play. I'm sending you to school to learn.
That's probably why you guys came to this country.
There you go. Like that's why. And I'm sure there are so many other, you know what I'm saying, people from immigrant backgrounds that suffer from that same disconnect. You know what I mean?
Here. I mean, granted, it wasn't like they did not support me. Yeah. But they were like, soccer comes like, it's like, God, family, school, chores, more school, you know what I mean? And then if you're lucky, you can go play soccer. If you've done all of this stuff, you know, and you can find a ride to practice, I'll support you. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it's tough, bro. Yeah,
it's crazy. Like just like being, I feel like because it was made so hard for me is the reason why I'm still in the game right now. Yeah. And still around it. And it's like my first love because it's something that I had to work for in order to get. I'd have So now when I drive to Virginia for a game, if I drive to Baltimore for a game, if I drive somewhere in DC for a game early Sunday morning at 8 a.m., to the random person, you're like, yo, like, aren't you doing the most? Right. But it's like, I don't look at it that way. This is something that, I love to do. Right. Like, I think like if you were to ask somebody about Fuad, the second or third thing is probably going to be about football. You know what I'm saying? That's kind of what I'm known for. So
definitely, man. I mean, that's why I got you on the show. And one of the cool things about you is like, so most of the people that we've had on the show, they've either been like high level D1 players or like ex-professionals or some current professionals, right? So you're the first one that's coming on here who's like, you've had your stints, you had a trial at DC United Academy, you know what I mean? You've had all that, but one thing I really love about you is no matter what the level of play is football to you, and you enjoy it, and you play with a passion, you play with a drive, and it's really contagious. So I mean, I love that. And like my IG name on Instagram is funny. One of my boys just pointed it out to me the other day. He was like, yo, this is hilarious. Why is your IG name Pelada, right? Yeah. Because in Spanish, I think it means like bald woman or like naked woman or something like that, right? Or I guess pelado is like bald man or whatever, right? But
you're definitely not bald.
I'm definitely not bald, and I'm definitely not a woman, and I'm definitely not Hispanic either.
Right.
But 7 or 8 years ago, I watched this documentary called Pelada. And Pelada is actually what in Brazil they call pickup. That's a pickup thing. Okay. It's Brazil and some other South American countries, right? It's called pickup. pelada, right? And their passion for it. This is literally like everybody gets on their lunch break, they go play pickup, and they come back to work. You know what I mean? They went over to China.
Me up.
Dude. It was dope. Like I'm gonna send you the link to this documentary, bro. It was one of the most phenomenal things I've ever seen. Like it completely transformed like how I feel. I always felt like soccer was a thing where like you either have to be striving to become a pro,
right,
or your work for it is quite useless.
Yeah.
But in watching that, the essence of football is beyond just making money out of it. It's beyond just the fame and the fortune. It's beyond just, it's literally just about the way of a lifestyle. You know what I mean? Yeah. Literally a lifestyle. In China, they will work 14-hour days, and at 2:00 a.m., they all get scheduled. Every colleague in that work goes to the top of the roof and plays soccer. And that's their exhale. That's their eustress. You know what I mean? And then they come back and they get back to work or whatever. So all over the country, man, it's not just about the fame and the fortune and the lights. It's a lifestyle.
That's the beauty of it. I mean, the way I like to think about it is that no matter what level you're playing at, what team, you know what I'm saying? The ball is round. The goal is a rectangle. And the object of the goal of the game it remains the same. Right. So, you know, coming up, I was never like intimidated by like people who are bigger than me. I'm naturally, you know, a skinny guy. People that are bigger than me and stronger than me and faster than me, because I'm like, okay, they may have those advantages over me, but I've always been a player that doesn't faze me because I always use what's in between my ears. That's the way I kind of function in life, on the field and off the field.
Right.
So, you know, smarts are always gonna, you know, outwork speed and agility and quickness. But
that's one of the cool dynamics about football compared to any other sport. Other sport, because like, let's say like basketball, there's clearly a height requirement.
Right.
Football, there's clearly a size requirement. Whatever. Tennis, there's clearly like an agility and speed requirement. Whatever sport. Soccer, you can be the slowest guy on the field.
Look at Luka Modric for Madrid.
Luka,
how small he is and how short he is. But no one's touching him.
Or look at one of the greats, who I consider one of the greatest. I mean, I love this guy to death. Zidane. The skinniest, one of the most unathletic looking people.
My all-time favorite player. Like Zidane, watching him play is like magical. An orchestra. It's like a symphony.
Yeah, the scientist.
He gives definition to the word. Like, he is the word elegance personified on a football pitch. Yeah. Just, do you remember the penalty he took in the World Cup final?
Of course.
Like,
Panenka hit the top, the one that hit the crossbar and bounced.
He's doing this in the World Cup final against Gigi Buffon, who I believe is the greatest keeper of all time.
I kind of like Oliver Kahn, but I mean, Gigi, well, yeah.
It's debatable.
But the World Cup's with Oliver Kahn, though.
That's
my only thing. But no, it is very debatable. It is very, very debatable.
I'm saying at that pressure moment, the cojones.
You took the words out of my mouth, man.
All right, I'm gonna show you why you're a keeper.
Right.
That guy just gave football a whole different meaning. Like, just why he can still play now if he really wanted to.
Easily. You know what I mean? Himself, just as what he brings to the sport, man, transitions from playing to coaching. See what he's able to do at Madrid. 3 Champions League in a row. It's absurd.
And that was a team that nobody could manage. No one could manage those egos.
No one, bro.
But
we hired the best of the best, from Mourinho to Rafa Benitez to all the hired the best of the best.
I mean, Ancelotti won a decima, but still,
but no, not the champions. And the thing about it is, he was coming from the second team that he was doing very poor on. He was doing very poor. I mean, they were losing a lot of games at Castilla. But he was able to come out there halfway through the season and just turn that whole thing around. But again, I think it was a little bit easier for him as a coach because of the tremendous respect that everybody on that pitch in Madrid is relatively our age. So they all grew up watching this guy do the Panenka against the greatest goalkeeper in the world at the time. They grew up watching him single-handedly destroy Brazil to get to that point.
Game, you know what I mean? I was watching that game in Egypt on a huge jumbotron, like in a really just like open car lot, like parking lot. And the place how it was set up, it was just split into 2. You either wearing yellow or you're wearing blue. And I was a big France guy.
Yeah, man.
And I remember just like being on that side, and when he, you know what I'm saying, just from minute 1, he made that run and just in between 2 people gave it step over here and there. And I'm just like,
filthy.
Yo.
And this is not no average Brazil. This ain't no last World Cup. This is Brazil team with Ronaldinho,
Kaká.
Di Ronaldo, Kaká, all these guys that
Roberto Carlos,
bruh,
come on,
Cafu. Like that team was stacked, bro, and he was able to do all that and then go and face Italy, which
don't forget what he did to Spain.
Oh yeah.
Don't forget what he did to Portugal in the semifinal.
Oh yeah.
Like we could just keep going.
With Deco and all of them. With Figo and all of them.
Come on, this guy.
Nah, but yeah, like with no athleticism, like he's one of the least athletic athletes I've ever seen in my life.
There's a video of him back in the day when he had hair. A long time
he had hair. When was this? Like
long time
50
ago.
years ago. Out of the womb.
He was playing futsal in France.
Yeah.
And he was cooking people.
Yeah.
Futsal, like where you have to be really quick and really agile.
Right.
Giving dudes the business. Yeah. So I'm like, yo, this dude was a baller.
I mean, one of the things that he always had and stuck with him, that's why he was able to have such a long career and still dominate, was he was just incredibly smart, bro. He was just incredibly smart.
He had a picture of what he wanted to do before the ball even got to him. Right. He knew, all right, this is what's around me. This is what I'm going to do.
I mean, his roulette, like, he wasn't the quickest roulettes, but he knows how to bait players in and spin on. Like, I mean, anyways, let's not get sidetracked, but I could talk football all day. Bro. But yeah, so you came here, so you're in this state now where you finally found, similar people like you guys, kind of put teams together. We call this interquartier teams, right? Back in Cameroon, like you can just kind of put teams, pick up together, and then you go and travel between different quartiers, different quarters, different neighborhoods, and play pickup, play pelada. How was that experience?
I mean, it creates an us versus them mentality, right? Mm-hmm. You and your boys, you're 5, 6. It's like 5 aside, 6 aside. Mm-hmm. We all take the bus to get, either we're walking or we're taking the bus. This is way before Uber, way before Lyft and all of that. So, 10 toes, that's how we were getting around.
Hey, it's like that sometimes, man.
So, just the whole like, okay, planning, Friday, meeting up. All right, we all meet up at the bus stop.
Right. On
the way there, we're talking. You're going to play in the back. You're going to play in the middle. This is what we're going to do. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Exit strategy. If things go, the smelly stuff hits the fan and
switch it up like
you know what I'm saying? We got to make a quick exit. This is how we're going to go. It just created just like it was like a little mini cup every week that we had, right? Mm-hmm. It was the one thing that we all looked forward to. And then on the ride home, we're talking about it. We, stop by the local shop, get some chips, some Pepsi, and just it's just great times, man. Just when football was just about how it made you feel. Right. More so than anything. Just doing something you love with people that, you cared about. You cared about, man.
So what, if I may, what were the advantages of that? And what were the disadvantages?
So I'd say for a fact, one of the biggest disadvantages is that when you're not exposed to a structured, organized, football environment, you really are behind the curve in terms of tactical awareness.
That's very true.
Right. So when I came back here, I had no idea of positioning. I was skilled. I knew how to dribble. Very good beating you one-on-one, but understanding positions on a pitch and how they relate to, where you should be.
Phases of the game, yeah.
I was like a chicken without its head running around.
Yeah.
Right? No, nothing. No sense of discipline, like on the field. I was just a street baller. So my game, even to this day, it's 90% reactionary, read and react. I'm just going off instinct.
Right. Well, they say like 14 is the professional age. So the habits which you've developed up until the age of 14, 15 pretty much stick with you for the rest of your life. Right. Especially, your tactics.
Yeah. But one thing I will say is that playing that, like being exposed to that environment makes you a really good problem solver on the field. Mm-hmm. Right. A lot of times people that are just strictly in academy settings throughout, like from their youth all the way through, they're not put in positions where they got to improvise. They got to think on the fly. Like very robotic, right? Mm-hmm. No charisma, no flair, no like spice to their game.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like
the U.S. national team. No, I mean I'm dead serious.
You said it.
Bro.
I said you said it. Yeah.
I'm an honest guy. I'm straightforward. I say it the way it is.
Yeah.
It's not. We're not lacking the physical ability. We're not lacking the technical ability. We're not lacking the tactical ability. We're lacking creativity
the sauce,
and
man.
flair.
We don't got the sauce like that.
It's not there. Yeah. So yeah, man. Go ahead, bro.
But nah, that's definitely one thing that I've noticed. Like I'll take let's say a player like Neymar, right? Neymar is essentially a street footballer who understood that in order to make it at the next level, he needed to improve tactically, which is why I'm a fan of what you guys got going here, is because
appreciate it.
You don't need all that big, huge field to get better technically.
Yeah.
You need a really small area to work on your touch and work on your skills.
Yeah.
And the more that you're focusing on that from a young age, you're gonna grow. You're gonna get bigger with as you get older. You're gonna get stronger. You're gonna get faster. Those are things that you can work on.
Yeah.
But you and I both know when you go to a field, what's the first thing you're gonna look at a player? What's your touch like?
Your technique, your technical ability. Yep.
If your first touch is dead,
most likely you're probably It's funny. There's a motto which I want to almost say live by. It's a quote by Pep Guardiola, and I mean he was in an interview, and they were asking him like, Pep, man, you're coaching all these teams, like you have a very, very keen eye for the type of players you want. Yeah. You know what I mean? Now the problem is not everybody can develop these players. So if you were to tell people if you were to start your development from a young age, what should you do? What's the one thing you would tell everybody? And he looked at the guy and said, man, to be honest, this is in Spanish, but I'm reiterating in English, right? It's like, man, to be honest, play them in the smallest places possible from a young age. The best players play in the tightest spaces because it forces them to think fast and react quick. 2, it forces them to make sure their technical ability is always on point, because one touch too far, you're losing it, or you're running into something. Yeah. One touch too close, you're not moving enough to get out of something. So it teaches a lot. Play them in tight spaces. Now, when they get to the big field, it's easy. You know what I mean? Yeah. So we kind of use that same concept in everything we develop here. So that's crazy. You kind of pay. A lot of people don't. A lot of parents come in here sometimes and they're like, wow, okay, it looks cool, but it's small. It's not what we're used to. Can they really da? And then they spend we have a 3v3 league in here. They spend 6 games in here. Dude, I've been getting off the hook coaches wow. My team can possess the ball. We're playing out of the back. We're playing out of tight spaces. Just 6 weeks, just one game a weekend in here, working. 20-minute halves. It's phenomenal what it does. Instinctually. It's not like we have to come up there and tell them, use this part of your foot to get out of here. We have certain rules in here that keeps them from being able to do stuff like kicking the ball off the walls and stuff like that. But it's just natural development. You know what I mean? So
the less touches, the better.
I'm glad you can see that. Yeah,
for sure, man. Yeah. I mean, I can't wait to bring my son here when the time is right to get him good.
I'm counting the days, man. I think he's going to be a phenomenal baller, bro.
Hey, man, as long as he loves it, that's the biggest thing, the right? If he loves the game, we're going to support him 100%. Whatever game he loves, regardless. But if it's football, it makes it that much more enjoyable.
That's true.
You know what
I mean? Let me ask you this: so growing up, would you want to implement? And I think this is something which should be implemented. Each kid should be able to grow up and have that organized, the academy club kind of thing where you're organized, you're getting proper coaching, they're teaching you the right things technically, tactically, at the right age, of course, physically, right? But also have a side to the game that's just made for just fun and intricate play and just creative and just go out and make mistakes. Go out and try different positions. Nobody's gonna yell at you. Nobody's gonna Nobody's gonna tell you this is the right way to play. Just go out and figure stuff out on your own. Man. Do you think that should be something that should be implemented? Literally implemented in every academy system, every club system.
I 100% agree. I mean, the whole rule of not being able to play out, because I know a lot of academies have that rule where if you're assigned to an academy or if you're on this team, they usually have a rule where you're not allowed to play pick up or just random places. I think that's just completely detrimental to just overall, it's like you said, establishing the charisma, the love, the passion. There's certain players you can see when they play, they're expressing themselves. Why do you always hear coaches saying, yo, go out, express yourself?
Right.
If you're not having fun,
it's pointless.
you might have chose the wrong sport.
And not just like we play the best when I don't know about you.
Yeah.
But when I'm having fun, I do some stuff that I only do in my dreams.
Man, I'm telling you.
But when I'm like, oh my God, I do what the coach says, and I got to play like this, and I got to.
Once you start thinking too much, that's it.
So, but you're right though. Like that whole idea where like they're like you can't play outside of what we have here because one, the injury. But I get it. These players are assets. These players are assets to the club. These players are assets to the U.S.
Yeah,
potentially, right? So I think it should be something that's worked within the organization, right? Within the firm. Like I think it's something which should be implemented. You know what I mean?
But here's the thing: in order to grow, you need to be put in positions and environments that are uncomfortable.
Right.
So, me being a skinny guy, I actually enjoyed playing against really big, stronger guys. A, to see if, to test myself, to see how I go against them. And B, to see what I can like learn from them and see what parts of their game I can take and implement into my game, right? Because if you're playing against the same players, the same people, same friends, when you're friendly with somebody like me or you, if I'm playing against you, I'm not going to go in like 110% trying to injure you because you're my guy. Like I'm going to be competitive, but there's going to be a limit. But when you play against a person who's just nasty, who's going to do everything that they can to win and doesn't matter what line they cross, that exposes you to a level that I feel like can either, make you or break you. Look at like a guy like Luis Suarez. As much as I dislike him as a person, I cannot say anything about his competitive nature.
No, that's big facts, bro.
He'll do whatever it takes to win.
A handball in the whatever.
In the World Cup. Oh man, don't remind me.
Right? Hey, but he's a god in his country. But the other people, that guy is.
Never go to Ghana.
If they, let them catch him in the streets of Accra.
It's a wrap.
It's dead.
It's a wrap for him.
Nah, but you're right, man. This competitive nature but it also that competitive nature brings a lot out of his team.
Exactly. I mean, but what do you think about like the academy setting, right? Have you seen or noticed like prejudice or like preferences, for certain people? Because
without a doubt,
a lot of times, like, okay, you remember what happened to Raheem Sterling a few months ago when City played at Chelsea in Stamford Bridge, and they had that guy from the stands like yelling racial abuse to him.
Yeah.
Like that's racism that is over. Everybody can see it. Nobody is ever gonna like argue for or know what I'm saying.
Right. What are you gonna
condone?
do?
But like if you think about it, there's a lot more prejudice that goes on in football from within the tactical room, from scouting. I can speak for myself. When I went to try out with DC when I was 18, granted I wasn't good enough to make the team. I'll be the first to admit. But when I go there and tell them that I'm a central midfielder, they immediately put me and said, no, you're going to have to try out wide.
Of course.
You seem fast. You seem like you're skillful. So go out wide. And I'm like, but I'm not a winger. I'm a central midfielder. And they're like, no, this is your position. So granted, I try out a couple times. I don't make it. But that's just one example. And if you think about it, can you name like a single a number 10 or like a Kevin De Bruyne type of player that's African or a person of color? Like we can even stick to just people of African descent. Like we are kind of always shoehorned in positions that only focus on pace and power, physicality.
Right.
Center back, defensive midfielder, winger, striker. But you're never finding those type of players to be like a De Bruyne. De Bruyne is not a big guy. De Bruyne is not a tall guy. De Bruyne is a very smart player. But he has a slim build. But he never was played out of position. He was allowed to grow into that position.
That's true.
You know what I mean? Like think of a guy like Clarence Seedorf. Even though dude is crazy jacked. But he was one of the only number 10, like, prominent black number 10s out there that was known for his IQ, his football IQ.
Right. And would he have had that same opportunity if he wasn't Dutch?
There you go. Because the Dutch, they have a whole different way of how they even view football, their philosophy, which is amazing.
Total football.
If I had the opportunity, I'm sending Amir to Ajax.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Ajax development is
straight up
second to none.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? People talk about like Barcelona. I think Ajax is one of the better ones.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like for sure. But that's the thing about it. And you know, it kind of sucks where it's like, which came first, the chicken or the egg? So are we only good at these positions? And I say we as like minorities, are we only good at these positions because that's all we've ever been taught or developed to play?
Right.
Or are we good at these positions because we're naturally just gifted and good at that position? You know, and are they only good at those positions? Because you don't see too many, you know what I mean, white, you know,
rapid wingers.
You know, rapid wingers.
Yeah. Unless you're Iron Robin.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Predominantly now you're starting to see more and more black strong center backs, even in La Liga.
Yeah.
You know, even in Italy, where before it wasn't the case, but you're starting to see these things now a lot.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Koulibaly, all these guys.
Koulibaly, man.
And
what a player.
Like, so I'm asking myself, you know, is it we're subject to our nature or are we subject to the nurture?
But think about it this way, right? How many football managers are black?
You know,
how many heads of scouting and talent recruitment are of African descent?
I was gonna get to that because
that's important.
When you're talking about the and I don't want to necessarily call it racism because I don't think it's necessarily racism, but I guess just like preconceived notions of people.
Yep.
Right. I experience it every day. I used to experience it more as a player because like I played in Germany for a while. I experienced racism like it was nothing. You know what I mean? So that's why I come here and some of the stuff I say, I'm like, man, whatever. It's not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
You know, because I've seen way worse there. You know what I mean?
For sure.
But now that I'm coming up and more than just a coach, but now I'm like a sporting director for some clubs and a director of coaching for some clubs and, you know, technical development, like I'm starting to realize that even when it goes to recruiting, I go out and I find a player who's really, really good and a player that can come and fit in our system and thrive. And I mean, thrive and learn from the best.
Right.
They would opt to go to, and one of the clubs I coach with, for example, like world class, predominantly black guys. I think all our coaches are black. All our coaches are black.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'll give you a perfect example. I was coaching at MC. I was doing private sessions with these two kids, this brother and a sister. Okay. You know, I taught this girl everything, like how to juggle. Like she came into me and she was like 13 and couldn't juggle to 5. Okay. Right. I spent a month with her juggling. The other day I saw her and her record now is 310. Jeez. Bro, I don't even know how long it took me to get to 310. I was like at a pro still juggling to like 200. 310, you know, and this was the technique I taught her. So her mom really, really liked me as a coach, but part of the reason that she even gave me a chance to be able to develop her with her was because one, my coaching fees, my private coaching fees was over 50% cheaper than the competition.
Right.
So that's when she was like, she's all about saving money. She don't care if you're black, white, red, blue, whatever. You got, yeah, I'm with it. You know what I mean?
Money green, baby.
That was how she was able to at least step in and give me a shot to prove what I have. And then she actually saw like, wow, this guy actually might know what he's talking about. So I remember her daughter was going through a phase where she was like, I need a new club. You know, the club I'm at is not really growing. I'm not happy. So she asked me like, do you have any girls teams? And I was like, nah, I predominantly like coach guys right now other than my college team. But I know a perfect club where she'll go in and fit. You want coaches like me, coaches who know what they're talking about, coaches who have played at the highest levels, coaches that can get players to the highest levels. You want to go to these guys. So I sent her over to these guys and she tries out. She does okay. She does well. Granted, their team is a little bit better than her level, but she does well. They're like, we see potential in her. We'd like to bring her on. We'd like to offer her a spot. Nice. They offered her a spot. A week later, I get a call from the coach who I sent her to. Like, he's livid. He's like, man, we gave this girl a spot. We turned down other people for her. Right. And we just got an email from her saying that she just signed with one of their competitors. I'm not going to say their names, but one of their biggest competitors. Okay. And again, these competitors are predominantly a French white team.
Okay.
Right, white guys. Maybe there's like 1 or 2 black guys there, and you know what I mean. They know what they're. I'm not gonna knock them. They understand the game and all that stuff, but they're nowhere close to the level and the caliber of these coaches what I sent her to. I had a reason for why I sent her there.
Right.
I know what these guys are doing. I know where these guys are headed, and I know where she could be headed if she stuck. She thought I could teach them how to juggle from 5 to 300 and some in under 2 months. Imagine what those guys would do for her. But the mom opted to go with that route. So I'm sitting there asking like, why?
I think it has to do with like us as foreigners. Sometimes we have this like subconscious where we think, oh, you know, if it's white, it's right. Right? Like we kind of sometimes don't respect our own.
I don't even think it's foreigners. This woman was an American woman. I think it's just a general consensus by most people, bro.
Yeah.
By most people. I don't know what it is. Maybe they feel, you know, we are less organized. Maybe they feel, I have no idea, but we do everything. We know this for a fact. Because we're black, we can't just be good. We have to strive for excellence. Yeah. Excellence is our thing, right? Yeah. So we can't show up to our training session, you know, 2 minutes before it starts. We need to be there 30 minutes and have everything set up. Seems like everything's like, I set my stuff up hours before. You know what I mean? You can't just come into there with 30 minutes before the session starts. What am I going to do today? Okay, I'm going to do this drill. I'm going to do that drill. I'm going to do this. It's cool. Let me set it up. No. Our session plans are made the night before based on the practice before or the week before, or the game before. We go out, sit out. We have a who, what, where, why. Activity number 1, how's it transition to activity number 2? How's it transition to activity number 3? What is the focus? What is the overall goal? How do we teach a game? Like we take a lot of thought into what we do. And I can almost guarantee you 95% of the coaches in this area do not do that.
Right.
So it always struck me like, why? You know what I mean? Why are we looked at as second class? Second, like we don't know what we're doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I experience it day in and day out. I go out and recruit players left and right, and they opt to go for other clubs. But it's funny because we always get the last laugh because, like I was saying, we played her team and we smashed them. And I don't even care about the scores and stuff, but just the way we played compared to, you know what I mean?
That's what it's about, man.
But if I felt bad for the girl because she doesn't see the prejudice, or I don't want to say prejudice, but she doesn't see what's going on. She really liked me as a coach. She liked that team she played for, but her mom thought this would be a better fit for her. So she loses out. You know what I mean? And that can't keep going on.
For sure.
You know what I mean? It simply can't. So I'm always stuck asking myself, like, how do we change these things?
I think like just with anything, I mean, representation is like kind of like the first step, right? So
we need to get a couple white guys in.
No. What I mean by that is like seeing a really successful black manager at a really high, you know, at a really like high level football club would be the first step in kind of breaking that preconceived notion that, you know, black play or, you know, foreigners or immigrants can't make it to the top when it comes to coaching and developing talent and training and putting together, like you said, facilities like this and developing football philosophies.
Right.
But like that's the first step, man. Places like, you know, World Class Premier, you know, I feel like it's a really big step in the right direction because you're gonna be able to develop so many players that would have just fell through the cracks. How many good players do you and I know on a personal level that are just filthy? But for some reason, they're not at a club.
Dude, I couldn't count on my hands and feet. Yours too.
They're not at a club. They don't get scholarships to play at universities. They don't get trials, you know, overseas.
I mean, you kind of had a similar thing with your DC United trial, no?
Yeah, you could say that. I mean, you know, hindsight is always 20/20, but who's to know, you know, what could have happened? You know, if you're exposed to the right environment, the right organization, the right coach, the right philosophy, right? And I feel like, you know, the whole pay to play system that we got here, it's not conducive to bringing the best and the best. Like, are you trying to tell me that the U.S. with 400 million people can't put together a squad of 18 players that can compete? Come on now.
Qualify for a World Cup. Yeah, it's absurd. It's
Come
absurd.
on, man. And
it's crazy. You look at teams like how many World Cup game winning goals did or qualifying goals or even to get them to the World Cup finals that Henry scored for the French national team. And Henry's probably he's definitely a legend in France. Now, if I told you where Henry was picked up, he was playing pickup. He was playing pickup on some court somewhere And Arsene Wenger sees the kid and it's like, that's what I want. How many scouts in the United States, Division 1, Division 2, Division 3, are going and watching regular street pickup games, regular guys like you that are traveling from neighborhood to neighborhood at the age of 14, 13 and finding talent? How many?
Not that
You know
many,
what I mean? Like, it's crazy. And that's why, dude, I was rooting for Henry to do well as a coach at Monaco and stuff like that.
Didn't work
man.
out too much. But hopefully, you know, it's a minor setback for a major comeback. Because
hey, man.
I mean, to me, best forward that's played in the Premier League outside of Cristiano Ronaldo. Gotta put that in there.
I don't deny it. And he had the similar, his playing career is hopefully it takes the same route as his coaching career because when he first came to Arsenal he was not good.
Forget Arsenal. Don't forget Juventus. He did not work out.
He was not doing well. You know what I mean?
He was predominantly just a winger. Never really, you know,
Again,
no
a
consistency.
black guy.
Go out wide.
You know?
Common theme, right? But you see, Arsene Wenger stuck with him and
moved him around.
He got a statue outside of the Emirates.
That's true. That's true.
The rest is history.
He's a god, he's an icon. He's a role model for a lot of kids like you and I. You know, and kids coming up.
Forget you only gotta look at you and I. Look at France's Don Dada right now. Kylian Mbappe.
Mbappe, yo.
Come on, like that's
facts.
That's baby Henry.
It moves everything like Henry. He's faster, but everything like Henry, man. So I mean, it is what it is, and I'm glad that there are more and more people like you and I that are taking note of these things, and also that are having kids that are gonna come up, and we can better direct. Because one of the things that I think the environment, the culture here struggles with, are parents just don't know. Yeah. You know what I mean? They don't have that education on what good soccer is, what good coaching is, what good clubs are about, who's stealing your money, who's not stealing your money, where what good development is. But now the fact that, you know, there are people like us coming around and we're the ones that are now taking over that generation of here are our kids, now let's pick the right place, the right coach, the right this, the right
we're not gonna hesitate to pull them out if we see something going sideways.
Of course.
What I'm saying? Yeah. Definitely, man. I mean, it's the future's looking bright. You know, a smart person learns from somebody else's mistakes. So
that's true.
I feel like I'm a big believer that everything happens for a reason. You know, I'm always gonna play football. You know, whether it's on, I'm not on the top level. It doesn't matter what level it is. Like football to me is part of who I am as a person. So I'm always gonna be around it. And like I said, if the next generation, my son, if you know the people that are growing up can learn from our experiences. And just use that and just take the good and leave the bad, we're gonna be in a much better place.
Better place. We're gonna be good in every hood. Like,
hey.
You know what I mean? We're gonna be good in every. Not for real though. Like, and I would love that, man. But Fuad, again, bro, man, this time flew by. We already gotta cut off because you know we gotta get out of here. But yo, thanks for coming, man.
Bro, thank you for having me, bro. Man. Much like success for you know world class premiere. Wish you guys nothing but the best, and you're definitely gonna be seeing a lot more of me and the little guy.
Please,
for sure.
Please. I look forward to it, man. And hopefully we'll be having a lot more conversations like this. You know,
definitely, man.
Hopefully stuff like this can get out to the masses and people can also kind of hop on and realize the direction we're moving in. But man, thanks for coming out. If you got one thing to tell everybody, take away from this conversation, man, what would it be? Man, all I would say is just whatever it is that you're doing, you gotta have a passion for it. You gotta want to do it without anybody telling you. Right? So if you want to get better as a footballer, if you want to get better in whatever it is that you're doing, if somebody else is that driving motivator, it's only a matter of time before you kind of like lose motivation and stop doing what you're doing. That's true. So you got to be true to yourself and be honest, man. Just look yourself in the mirror. Say, know what you're good at, know what you're not good at, and just, put God first and just let him take the wheel. Respect, man. Respect. Real quick, though, just let everybody know where they can find you, where they can, chat, whatever, look you up. Yeah, you can find me on Instagram. I'm the homegrown immigrant, right? And then I'm on Twitter at Black Men Right. Oxymoron. That's the funniest oxymoron. Homegrown immigrant. It's definitely, I'm coming out with a blog, actually, really. So my first blog post is going to be tomorrow. Oh yeah, so dude, let us know. I'll post it on, when this drops, I'll post it on there, a link to it as well. Absolutely, I'll post it on my IG. It'll be on IG, Twitter. So definitely, And what was that Twitter handle again? Black Men Right. Black man, right? Okay,
You know, we're trying to give a new definition to BMW.
Hey, respect. Respect. I'm not even gonna talk about that car, but yeah, man, respect, man. Yo, hey, check them out. We'll be looking out for the blog, and everybody look out for this episode to drop too, man.
Definitely, bro.
Yeah, all right, bro.
For sure, man.
Respect.
Appreciate it, man.
Thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me, bro.